জয়দেব আপনাদের সামনে হাজির। আপনারা চোখ রাখুন বিগ নিউজের পর্দায়। আমরা পৌঁছে গেছি পার্ক হোটেলে। MCCI প্রোগ্রাম, চেম্বার অফ কমার্সের যে প্রোগ্রাম আজ আয়োজন হয়েছে, আপনারা চোখ রাখুন বিগ নিউজের পর্দায়।
Lieutenant General Rana Pratap Kalita ji, Major General I.S. Rathore ji, Mr. Shekhar Chakravarti, Ms. Madhumita Chakravarti, Mr. Lahiri, Ms. Hemavati, Mr. Sujoy Kumar Maji, Mr. Hari Harar Das, Mr. Hari Kumar, distinguished guests, members and friends from the media. A very hearty good morning to all of you. On behalf of the Merchants Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this MCCI Defence Conclave 2022. This conclave has been organized with an objective of bringing prominent policymakers and industry captains together for triggering meaningful discussions and deliberations on the current trends and future prospects of the Indian defence industry. And we hope that this event will help our industry friends from Eastern region to benefit from new developments undertaken by the Government of India. We are extremely grateful to Lieutenant General Rana Pratap Kalita, UYSM, AVSM, SM, VSM, and also the GOC in C, Eastern Command, for accepting our invitation to be our esteemed chief guest amongst his very, very busy schedule. Thank you very much, sir. We are really grateful.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Kothari and the management committee of the MCCI, the distinguished speakers on the dais, the industry leaders, the friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of great honor and privilege for me to have got this opportunity of interacting with you all today. And I must compliment and thank MCCI for giving me, as well as the industry leaders, this opportunity to interact and know each other's requirements. Primarily, these are continuing efforts of achieving self-reliance, as also to bridge the gap between the user and the provider. The previous speakers have already spoken about various initiatives that have been taken and how the market forces are emerging as far as the defense productions are concerned. I would like to give you an user's perspective that what is our expectations and what is our requirement as the defense forces. If you talk about the warfare, the nature of warfare has been constantly evolving and changing. And militaries all over the world have to evolve themselves and keep pace with the technological developments. Unless we try and infuse the technology into the method of war fighting, we'll be left with fighting tomorrow's war with yesterday's weapons and equipments. Hence, there is a requirement to constantly upgrade our weapon systems as also other devices, including structural reforms. The global security scenario in the last few years has undergone numerous changes. Particularly when you look at India, one is the impact of COVID on the entire world, as also in the market. Then we had couple of years back in 2020, the escalation along the northern borders against China, and recently we also have the Russia-Ukraine war. If you look back over the years, the global security environment has undergone number of changes, starting from the bipolar world which existed post-World War II. And after disintegration of the Soviet Union, we had an unipolar world. Thereafter, in last about decade or so, the number of blocs have started emerging. we know of China having grown exponentially, both in military terms as well as economically. And there is a constant endeavor from the Chinese side to challenge the dominance of US in the world affairs. So are we moving from the bipolar, unipolar to multipolar, or some sort of regional alliances based system? All these issues have got an impact on the defense preparedness as also pursuance of national interest by various nation states. As far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, while the jury is still out to draw out relevant lessons, a couple of things which stand out clearly is, first of them is the importance of hard power. Ultimately, a nation would only respect if you possess hard power. And second thing, there is a myth which was being circulated that the era of open conflict is gone, which has, the Russia-Ukraine has shown us that even now the nation states would pursue their national interest by resorting to an open all-out conflict. There is also a myth which was being talked about that all future conflicts will be short duration wars. The Russia-Ukraine war has been going on for more than 3 months now. And last but not the least, which is most important to us, in case of any future conflict, a nation has to fight alone. So hence the requirement of being self-reliant or Atmanirbhar Bharat, which we have been talking about. I would also like you all to take a look at the regional environment which surrounds India as a nation. There are a lot of instabilities we find in some of the neighboring countries. We all are aware of the developments in Pakistan and Afghanistan and the instability therein, the economic crisis which happened in Sri Lanka. There are certain instability even in other neighboring countries as well. We also should be cognizant of the importance of the Indian Ocean region, through which major part of the shipping take place, and all the Asian countries import or export majority of their trade through the sea lanes of communication. So the control or the threat emanating from Indian Ocean region is also an issue which we need to consider and be cognizant of. So what India as a nation is doing? Our national security paradigm is based on something called a strategic autonomy, and which can only be ensured if we have a strong military or if we possess adequate hard power. And for this, what do we need? We need to constantly strengthen our existing military capabilities, and while at the same time meeting the social development aspirations of the nation. We can't overlook that aspect as well. So there has to be a fine balance between the two. There is definite requirement of acquiring certain niche technologies in the domains of cyber, space, artificial intelligence, and strategic communication. So achieving self-reliance, so to say, in defense technology and manufacturing is thus a critical enabler for us to deter war in future, as also to ensure that we follow the policy of strategic independence. The previous speakers, including Mr. Kothari, have already spoken about various policy initiatives that have been taken by the Ministry of Defense to facilitate indigenization, as also participation of the MSCPs and various startups in defense production. I'm not going to elaborate on those. I'm going to confine my talks to what Indian Army is doing to facilitate or give a fillip to participation of the private players in the defense production. Broadly, for a layman, the capabilities that the Indian Armed Forces is looking at can be divided into 3 categories. The first one is the fundamental capability. The second one is niche capability. And third is critical technologies, which are generally denied by the countries which have already developed those critical technologies. which have already been spoken to by one of the previous speaker. Now these fundamental capabilities are the minimum requirements or the potential that we require to ensure deterrence and have edge on our adversary. These are things like your individual equipment, like we have the rifles, night vision devices, GPS, communication equipment, the reconnaissance aids like the remotely piloted aircrafts, quadcopters, clothings, and survival tools. These fall into the category of the individual equipment. Then you have certain weapon system. We may call them as tactical or strategic weapon system, which will include all the platforms, primarily tanks, your armored vehicles, the RT guns, the ships, the aircrafts, air defense guns, radars, missiles. All these form into those tactical weapon system. They are our fundamental requirement. We have to possess them, and they have to move with the technological development. Then we have the niche technologies. Those are the emerging areas of defense research to include developments in nanotechnology, adaptive camouflage, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, stealth, and EMP weapons or direct energy weapons. All these, that is where the future warfare lies. And unless we indigenize and develop these technologies, we will be left out of battle, which is commonly talked about in the armed forces. And there are certain critical technologies which are generally denied by the countries which have already developed. These include those missile and precision guidance, the EW system, stealth technology, the navigation technology, and radar technology. These are areas where we have to focus on indigenous development in industry and academia, because these technology no country is going to give to us. We have to be self-reliant as far as these critical technologies are concerned. Now, what the Indian Army is doing to share our thoughts, to share our requirements with the industry and the academia. The Indian Army does two publications. One is we publish a compilation of problem definition statements. These are technical problems which compiles the technical problems which are faced by the armed forces, and we carry out certain analysis, what are the requirements emanating from those problem areas, and those are shared online with all the MSMEs, startups, and so that they can evolve their own methodology for carrying out the requisite indigenization and research and development. Apart from that, there is something called olive pages. It's another ready reckoner for Indian Army's requirement of high value critical spares and sub-assemblies, and which are required for sustenance of the equipment. So these are the publications which are shared online, and it's available to everybody. Now they provide a view into some practical challenges which the Army faces and needs defense industry to apply themselves to develop. And apart from that, you all are aware that, like I had mentioned earlier, we need to constantly evolve and keep pace with the changing technology. Presently also, Indian Armed Forces is in the process of a major modernization drive with procurement of new weapons and equipments, essentially through domestic productions and indigenization. I am happy to state that from 2014 to 2020, 239 schemes costing 1,76,490 crores have been sourced from defense indigenous manufacturers. We have also started providing certain facilities to the startups and MSMEs and domestic production houses, and giving them an exposure by showing them our weapons and platforms that are in use, by facilitating their visit to forward areas so that they can understand what sort of environment under which we are working with, that will facilitate their carrying out their research and development. Certain testing facilities, including field firing ranges, have also been opened up to the domestic industries. Apart from this, we also have certain organizations that has been constituted. The first is the Army Technology Board. it interacts with the academia to try and give a fillip and push to the various research and development by identifying various fields in which the academia can help us. Then we have an organization called Army Design Bureau. It collates all the operational requirements of the field army or armed forces, Indian Army, for long-term research, development of indigenous weapons and equipments, and identification and induction of niche technologies. One of it is located in Delhi. We are also trying to increase its footprint by establishing some more regional nodes as far as the Army Design Bureau is concerned. Then we have the Indian Army's Directorate of Indigenization. It identifies items and parts of weapon systems and platforms for import substitution and indigenization. And it prepares the drawings and tenders for bulk production. Items worth 12,300 crores have been identified as current and future indigenization requirement of the Indian Army, and it has already completed projects worth about 1,500 crores. And this is a wonderful opportunity for the MSMEs in the defense manufacturing sector. Having spoken about what as an army we have been doing, I would like to briefly touch upon certain steps which we in Eastern Command in Eastern Theatre are doing. We also have been encouraging the industry participation in various development and research for enhancing our military capability. We have a continuous process wherein we examine technology or equipment proposals which we received from various industries, various production houses, and some of these are physically observed and tried out in the operational areas, in the forward areas, and in case found suitable, we go in for their procurement following the procedure that has been laid down. And a number of such items have been procured in the recent past. We are also planning to have, I'm happy to announce, in next month, in the month of July, in the first week between 6th to 9th of July, we are planning to hold some sort of a mini defense expo in Calcutta, and I would request the industrialists to come and participate in a big way. It would be a wonderful opportunity for you all to showcase your equipment, especially of the startups and the MSME in defense sector. We are also reaching out to industry through organizations such as MCCI, where we are doing now, and such like organizations all over the country. And we are also in touch with academia like IITs. I had recently been to IIT Guwahati, and we saw the facilities they have created for themselves in various fields of research, and we have identified certain key areas where we can jointly carry out research and develop certain equipment which are of critical nature requirement to us. To conclude, I would like to say that so far, tremendous efforts have been put in by Indian defense industry to indigenize equipments and systems. These efforts have been guided by government's vision, aided by policy initiatives, and supported by Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces. While the plan of action has been set in motion, we are aware of the need to remove apprehensions among the stakeholders, particularly with related to simplification of various procedures, and present better business opportunities to indigenous players. In an unstable regional security environment and to confront emerging threats, it will be wise to strengthen the paradigm of shared responsibility for defense preparedness. A well-equipped, modern and trained army is a national imperative under the present circumstances. As India grows in stature, the national security challenges too will rise, and it is vital that we transcend towards military self-reliance in a minimal time frame. The Indian Army and the Ministry of Defense has unveiled a slew of initiatives towards fulfilling its modernization needs in step with government's Atmanirbhar Bharat vision. We look forward to working closely with Indian industry in achieving this national aim. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Question, please.
Sir, I'm happy to be here today and interact with various industry houses and give them an exposure into the armed forces efforts towards indigenization in fields of defense production. In this, I would also like to take this opportunity to announce that in the month of July, we are going to hold a Defense Expo here in Kolkata, primarily focusing and giving a platform to various production houses to come and showcase their products, as also to interact amongst each other, to learn more for developing a strong defense production foundation base.
Sir, can you enlighten us about the military exports we are doing? We are talking about self-reliance, military imports. What about the military exports we are doing?
If you look at the government policies which has been made recently, I think the procedures have been simplified and there is a focus on ensuring that export is also being facilitated by the government policy. Because it has to be simplified. The facts and figures, I think, was mentioned by one of the speakers. As and when we start developing our own capability and strong foundation, I think the exports are automatically likely to increase. Because, like I had mentioned, all militaries have to change with the time. Because there is a constant change of procurement of details and military. I think that is going to take place in the near future.
So are we focusing mainly on South Asia or East Asia for exports?
We are not looking at any particular
Okay.
areas to say. It is based on the product that our industries are going to manufacture. And it's a competitive market, so to say. So it's up to the buyers to come and buy the items which have been produced indigenously by our country. As a policy, we are not giving any promotion to any particular product or something like that. We are also looking at purchasing items that are being produced. Similarly, it is open for the other countries also to come and purchase.
Sir, any update about Indo-Israel Development Mutual Cooperation regarding arms?
It is still going on, but you all are aware that there is a, to give fillip to the self-reliance, there is a negative list which has been published by the government. So we are adhering to that. So within those, whatever those collaboration are going on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
যেটার মধ্যে আগামী আমরা ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে আমরা কী আশার আলো দেখতে পারি সেটা
আশার আলো মানে ডিফেন্স দেখুন আমরা যে জিনিসগুলো ডিজাইন করছি ডিআরডিওতে সবই আমরা টেকনোলজি ট্রান্সফার করছি প্রাইভেট সেক্টরে আর পাবলিক সেক্টরে। তো ওরা এগিয়ে আসছে আমাদের জিনিসগুলো তৈরি করার জন্য। এমনকি আমরা প্রচুর এমএসএমইও তৈরি করেছি যাতে আমাদের টেকনোলজিগুলো ওরা নিয়ে ওরা নিজেরা প্রোডাকশন করে। উই আর দ্য ডিজাইন সেন্টার, আমরা প্রডিউস করি না। সো আমরা চাই এমএসএমই প্রাইভেট সেক্টর পাবলিক সেক্টর সবাই এগিয়ে আসুক, এসে আমাদের যে সিস্টেম এটাই আমাদের
যেটা সোলজার মানে যে তারা যেভাবে আমাদের সবসময় আমাদের দেশকে রক্ষা দিয়েছে তাদের বেশি কিছু
আমি বলছি যে মানে আমাদের ডিআরডিও একটা এইম হচ্ছে আমরা স্টেট অফ দ্য আর্ট ডিফেন্স টেকনোলজি তৈরি করে ওদেরকে ডেলিভারি দিচ্ছি এবং ওরা ইউজ করছে দে আর দ্য ইউজার্স ইফ দে find anything like we can improve, they can always come to us, give us the feedback. We are always there to do any changes in the systems, and we will go ahead with futuristic trends, and we'll implement everything. So they should keep faith on us, and we will be designing and developing for them. And that assurance DRDO gives to our armed forces.
ম্যাডাম বলছিলাম
স্যার এই MCCI যে উদ্যোগ আপনারা আছে সেটা যদি
এই প্রোগ্রামে তো আমাদের দেশে যে এখনই একটা অভিযান চলছে আত্মনির্ভর ভারত, আমাদের দিক থেকে একটা ছোট একটা এফার্ট আছে কি আমরা যত ডিফেন্সের স্টেক হোল্ডার্স আছে, যে ইউজার্স আছে, যে ম্যানুফ্যাকচারার্স আছে এবং যে আর্মি আছে, সবাইকে একটা প্ল্যাটফর্মের সঙ্গে নিয়ে এসে দেখতে পারি কি কীভাবে আত্মনির্ভর ভারত যেটা একটা অভিযান চলছে ওটাকে আমরা পুরো করতে পারি। আমরা জানি কি গভর্নমেন্ট অফ ইন্ডিয়ার একটা টার্গেট আছে কি 2024-25 ভেতরে $25 বিলিয়ন ইন্ডিজিনাস ডিফেন্স প্রোডাকশন হবে আর $5 বিলিয়ন এক্সপোর্ট হবে। আমাদের এই এফার্টটা আছে কি কীভাবে স্পেশালি ইস্টার্ন ইন্ডিয়ার যে স্টেক হোল্ডার্স আছে, ইস্টার্ন ইন্ডিয়ার যে ম্যানুফ্যাকচার আছে, ওরা এই সিস্টেম থেকে কীভাবে বেনিফিট করতে পারে আর এই যে আত্মনির্ভর ভারতের স্লোগান আছে তাতে কি পার্টিসিপেটও করতে পারে আর আমাদের দেশকে অ্যাকচুয়ালি আত্মনির্ভর বানাতে পারে।
আচ্ছা, আমাদের এই ইন্ডিয়ান সোলজারদের কতটা আমরা ওরা আরও বেটার কিছু পাবে সেটা এই ব্যাপারে একটু যদি বলেন।
আজকে আমরা মানে কি প্রোগ্রাম থেকে না
মানে টোটাল যে আপনাদের উদ্যোগের থেকে আর কি।
হালাকি আমরা আমাদের আজকে আমরা যে ঘুরছি, আজকে থাকছি, এটা হচ্ছে আমাদের সোলজার্সের জন্য। ওরা কোথায় জেগে আছে, দাঁড়িয়ে আছে, তার জন্য আমরা বুঝতে পারছি। আর ইন্ডিয়ান ইন্ডাস্ট্রি, ইন্ডিয়ান ন্যাশনাল সবাই আমাদের আর্মির সঙ্গে আছে। আমাদের চেষ্টা সবসময় এটাই থাকে কীভাবে ওদের লাইফটা আরও সুবিধা করা যেতে পারা যায়। আর এটা বলতে পারি যে যখন আমরা আত্মনির্ভর করতে চাইছি দেশকে, আমরা ওদেরই চিন্তা, ওদের কীভাবে বেশি কেপেবল বানাতে পারি, ওদের লাইফটা ইজি করতে পারি আর কীভাবে আমরা ওদের জন্য বেশি ভালো ফ্যাসিলিটিস বানাতে পারি, এটাই আমাদের ইন্টেনশন, এটাই আমাদের এফার্ট।
অনেক ধন্যবাদ বিঘ্নেশের পক্ষ থেকে। থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার। আমি জয়দেব, ক্যামেরায় রাখলাম। বিঘ্নেশের পক্ষ থেকে আপনাকে দিলাম, আমাদের তরফ থেকে আপনাকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ। তো যে উদ্যোগ আপনারা নিয়েছেন, এই উদ্যোগ মানে আমাদের ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে আমাদের কাছে একটা গর্ব আর কি। সেই হিসেবে যদি ওভারঅল কিছু বলেন তো।
Well, I'd like to be talking in English because I'm more
Okay, sir.
comfortable there. It's really a privilege to be here in this conclave, and of course it's a proud privilege to have our shipyard here in our catering to the West Bengal and also the inland waterways. So we have been in discussions with the Transport Department of West Bengal as well as Assam and Tripura, also with Odisha for supply of their vessels. But notwithstanding that, we will also do defense vessels in addition to the commercial vessels and the state government. In fact, we are in discussions with quite many private players or ship owners who would like to get their vessels built in our shipyard, including things like vessels like LPG carriers, the roll-on roll-off vessels, roll-on roll-off passenger vessels, the cruise vessels, the passenger ferries, interceptor boats, the marine ambulance, and that's a huge list of inventory of vessels that we can build and deliver.
ওকে স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Yeah.
থ্যাংক ইউ। যে উদ্যোগ আপনারা নিয়েছেন, তো এটার ব্যাপারে একটু আশা করে বলছি।
আমরা বিভিন্ন ইনিশিয়েটিভ নিয়ে যাচ্ছি এবং অ্যাওয়ারনেস নিয়েছি এবং আগামী দিনে আরও বেশি করে নেব। এটা ভীষণ ইম্পর্টেন্ট এবং হচ্ছে ডিফেন্স। ডিফেন্সে আত্মনির্ভর ভারত যে ক্যারিয়ান পর যেটা প্রাইম মিনিস্টার নরেন্দ্র মোদীজি যেটা এনেছেন, নিজের যে ডিফেন্স প্রোডাকশন যাতে লোকালি ডিফেন্সে কী কী অপরচুনিটি আছে কখন আগে রিস্টেন্ট আমাদের জিওসিএনসি এসেছেন, এছাড়া ডিআরডিও, এছাড়া আমাদের কাছে এসেছেন হ্যাল, ডিএল, জিআরএসি। তো এরা বলছে এদের কাছে কী কী অপরচুনিটি আছে যেগুলো এমএসএমই ক্যান ট্যাপ। এটা একটা হিউজ অপরচুনিটি ফর এমএসএমই টু মেক ইন টার্মস অফ বিজনেস কানেক্ট। আমাদের এই প্রচেষ্টাটা হচ্ছে ইন্ডাস্ট্রি ডিফেন্স লিঙ্কেজ, যাতে আমাদের লোকাল ইন্ডাস্ট্রিরা আরও বেশি সুযোগ পায় ডিফেন্স প্রোডাকশনে পার্টিসিপেট করতে। এই চর্চা
ইন্ডিয়ান সোলজারদের আমরা আগামী দিনে আর কি আরও বেটার কিছু আপনাদের কাছ থেকে আশা করতে পারবেন।
তা দেখুন, ইন্ডাস্ট্রি ডিফেন্স লিঙ্কেজের উদ্দেশ্যই হচ্ছে যে যাতে লোকালাইজেশন অফ ডিফেন্স প্রোডাকশন প্রসেস, যাতে ইম্পোর্ট কম হয়, যাতে আমাদের লোকাল ইন্ডাস্ট্রিটা বেশি সুযোগ পায়, তারা যাতে ডিফেন্স প্রোডাকশনে পার্টিসিপেট করতে পারে, তার সেই উদ্দেশ্যেই আমাদের ডিফেন্স ইন্ডাস্ট্রি কনক্লেভ, যেটা ডিপিএসি ডিফেন্স প্রোডাকশন ইউনিট আর এমএসএমই ইন্ডাস্ট্রি মেম্বার এরা অন প্ল্যাটফর্ম, যাতে এরা জানতে পারে একে অপরকে এই রিকোয়ারমেন্ট কী এবং এরা কতটা করতে পারবে। কারেক্ট ইজ এ ম্যারেজ মেকিং, ইটস এ কানেক্টিং দ্য টু।
স্যার আরেকটা যেটা যে আমরা বাইরে থেকে যে পাচ্ছি সেই জায়গা থেকে কি আমরা অনেকটা নিজেদের সেই আত্মনির্ভরের জায়গাতে মনে হয় আগামী দিনে অনেক বেশি কিছু আমরা নিজেরা মানতে পারি।
সেটাই বলছি, প্রসেসটা শুরু হয়ে গেছে। এই প্রসেসটাকেই আমরা এনকারেজ করছি ফ্রম MCCI, যে আরও বেশি করে যাতে আমাদের ইন্ডাস্ট্রি মেম্বাররা জানতে পারে যে এরা কী কী অপরচুনিটি নিয়ে আসছে, কোথায় কোথায় এদের দরকার, বা ডিপিএসি ডিফেন্স ইউনিটগুলো। তো সেইগুলো আমরা তুলে দিচ্ছি এবং আমাদের মেম্বাররা সেখান থেকে জানতে পারছে এবং তারপরে আগামী দিনে তারা আস্তে আস্তে এই বিজনেসে ঢুকবে এবং একটা হিউজ অপরচুনিটি, ভেরি বিগ অপরচুনিটি আজকে। তো সেটা আমাদেরকে, আর আমাদের ডিফেন্স হ্যাজ টু বি সেলফ রিলায়েন্ট, যেটা প্রাইম মিনিস্টার বারবার বলছে। তো সেই উদ্দেশ্যেই এই প্রচেষ্টা।
তার মানে আমরা আত্মনির্ভরের সেই চূড়ান্ত শিখরে পৌঁছে যাবো, এটা আমরা আশা রাখি।
আমরা আশা করি যে ওরা পিরিয়ড অফ টাইম আমরা অনেক কিছুই দেশের ভেতরে করতে পারব এবং সেখানে আমাদের এন্টারপ্রেনিউর, স্টার্ট আপস, বড় বড় ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালিস্ট, ছোটো ছোটো ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালিস্ট, এমএসএমই সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করবে। দেখুন, এটা তো একটা প্রসেস, এই প্রসেস অলরেডি শুরু হয়ে গেছে, অনেকে পার্টিসিপেট করছে, অনেকে প্রোডাকশন শুরু করেছে, লিঙ্কেজ হয়ে গেছে এবং বাকিরা যারা এখন আসেনি তাদের উদ্দেশ্যে এটা প্রচেষ্টা যে তোমরা এসে দেখো, তোমাদের জন্য একটা বড়ো একটা স্কোপ আছে, অপরচুনিটি আছে, ট্যাপ দ্যাট অপরচুনিটি, সেই উদ্দেশ্যেই।
অনেক ধন্যবাদ স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ।